The views, ideas, and content of WellSeekers and their guests are their own opinions, and you should always seek additional professional help around any of the issues discussed here on WellSeekers.
Hello and welcome to WellSeekers. We're helping you rise, come back, and thrive through it all. And there's a lot of things to get through in our current environment, our current world, and I'm sure in your current life and world. My name's Lucia, and I'm so honored to be here and to be with you, guiding you through this series on how to support you and help you to rise and heal from cancer, either for yourself or for a loved one. Today, we're continuing our stories and our series with a very close and personal friend of mine. Her name is Krista Lawrence, and Krista is sharing her story and experience about her struggle with metastatic breast cancer. Krista was on the show a few years ago, and we were going to actually have her come back on, and we talked, and one of my editors and producers listened to the interview that we did with Krista a couple years ago when she came on the show. And it was just so beautiful and so poignant and so relevant to this topic. If you've heard the show before, or you're new to the show, you are not going to want to miss this interview. One of the things that I truly believe that's foundational to storytelling is that in these stories, when you hear that someone else has experienced what you've experienced, there's so much relation that happens that can change your perspective on the situation, help you feel like you're not alone. We've heard that so many times, you're not alone. But the power of not feeling alone is transformational. The power of knowing that there's someone else out there experiencing what you're experiencing the emotions, knowing that it's the same can take away so much of that isolation and the stigma and sometimes shame that comes with life experiences that we all face, especially with cancer. I know that when my loved one was diagnosed, I spoke with someone who had been through a similar situation with someone in their family, and just hearing the exact same situations, the exact same experience made me feel so not alone in that moment. And that was pivotal for that time, because you're going through so much mud when you get, especially a stage 4 cancer diagnosis, but truly any cancer diagnosis, that just knowing that this is the exact same thing someone before you walk through, and they're still there standing and they're okay, means everything in that moment. So we wanted to offer you some relation, some inspiration, some hope, and just that feeling that you're not alone. So we're going to be right back with Krista Lawrence, and she's going to share her story with living with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. We'll be right back on WellSeekers.
You're listening to WellSeekers, a show where the journey is just as important as the destination.
We are back with Krista Lawrence, very good friend.
Hi, Lucia. Thanks so much for having me on.
And Krista, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, because the one thing that I was reading about, I went to Susan G. Komen and I read a lot about metastatic breast cancer. The interesting part, because I'm a words person, I really like the intricacy of words. There's a lot around people identifying themselves with this illness. So how would you identify yourself? Living with?
I'm very happy to talk about metastatic breast cancer, because as you said in your intro, you did not know what it was prior to having a friend that was diagnosed with it. I can say that I did not know what it was prior to hearing the doctor tell me about it. I am living with metastatic breast cancer. I am also living with the knowledge that my life is going to be considerably shorter than it otherwise would have been.
Tell us what metastatic breast cancer is. And I know it's stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. Why is it called that? Because it almost feel like, I know it confused me, and I've heard people say it confuses people. So why did they give it that terminology?
So breast cancer is metastatic when the tumors have spread from the original site of diagnosis in the case of a recurrence, or in the case of what's called a de novo diagnosis, when you are diagnosed with metastatic stage 4 right from the beginning, right off, without ever having had an early stage diagnosis of breast cancer. But it is when the cancer travels through the lymphatic system and it lands into the vital organs. When it travels and it sets up shop in the lungs, in the brain, in the liver, in the bones. Those are the common sites for metastatic breast cancer. Once it goes to those organs, it is no longer a curable cancer.
So that's a differentiator, that it has traveled from the breast into another organ.
That's right. And you can have it in your lungs. You can have it in your brain. And many people will say, well, don't you have lung cancer? Don't you have brain cancer? No, it is breast cancer that has metastasized to the lungs, to the bones, to the brain.
Why do you feel like in the press, I know that's another thing that I read about, it doesn't get a lot of attention. Is there a reason that, it sounds like you have a reason.
Yeah, there is absolutely a reason because, and I lived it, I embraced it. The reason is because we have such awareness. We have campaigns that are pink ribbon. There is such promotion around breast cancer awareness. And in all honesty, that, that's a great, great effort. However, unless you have been seriously living under a rock, most people now know that breast cancer can happen to anyone. Metastatic, when I was first diagnosed with early stage breast cancer, which was the end of June in 2009. And
right. So we just want to clarify here. So Chris actually was previously diagnosed with breast cancer.
Right.
That was in 2009.
Correct.
And then got a re-diagnosis
in July of 2014
of metastatic.
Correct.
Okay. So tell us about that journey, because you had beaten cancer for all essential
Absolutely.
purposes.
So breast cancer for me, when I was first diagnosed, was shocking, as I was only 46 and I had no previous conditions or warning signals or any indicators that I would be susceptible to breast cancer. No family history.
None of the genes.
Nothing.
That people test for.
Nope. So it really did come out of the blue for me. But I do clearly remember my oncologist and my surgeon telling me that it would be, maybe 10 months, a year of really rough going. And then it was going to become a blip in my life, and I was going to be able to resume life as I had known it. In fact, when I sat down with my two children, who at the time, were 14 and just turning 21, I was able to say to them, in all honesty and truthfulness, that breast cancer, to my knowledge, I said, breast cancer is no longer the death sentence that it once was, because people used to think it was an immediate death sentence.
It was curable. And they thought that
absolutely. And my chances, I had a pretty treatable cancer. It was caught early. It was stage 2. And I was going to have a lumpectomy, rounds of chemotherapy, and then rounds of radiation, and then continue taking an oral kind of maintenance drug for 5 years, which I did successfully.
This is probably when you also, I don't want to say hopped on the bandwagon, but there is that sense of
Absolutely.
curable cancer. I'm going to beat this. I got this.
I never had a bumper sticker on my car until I was a survivor, and I had a pink ribbon, and I had early detection saves lives and survivor.
So it's 2010 now?
Yep. In 2010, I did a 39-mile walk up in Boston to raise money for one of the organizations.
Yep. You walk 39 miles, impresses
And
me.
I was a survivor.
Yeah.
I had beaten it, and I just wiped my hands clean of it and continued with my routine checkups.
From 2010 until 2012.
Yep.
So then in 2012, you go back to the doctors.
In 2014.
2014.
Yeah.
Any signs, symptoms, anything? Or was it just your annual checkup?
No, I went. I had actually, they have a progression of when they see you from like your last treatment. You go every 3 months to get checked by the radiologist, the surgeon, the oncologist, and then you graduate to 6 months. You do that for a couple of years.
Yep.
Usually, typically, they tell you when you are 5 years out, you are good to go. It is not coming back.
My dad had stage 4 colon cancer, and same thing every 3, 6, 5 years.
So I had just in June gotten my 5-year mark.
Yeah.
I was clear, and I was graduating to 1-year markers. And I was ecstatic about that. I had no symptoms other than some soreness under my arm, in my axilla. I did not ever even consider that it was a recurrence of cancer because they had gone above and beyond, given me double dosage, done everything possible to minimize the chance of recurrence. And all of my doctors were very confident and said, yeah, you're done. This will not come back. During my journey with cancer the first time, I did encounter some people who were stage 4 metastatic. I didn't really understand what that meant, and I didn't try to understand what that meant because it didn't apply to me. And in fact, I just stayed away from them and say, oh God, yeah, that sucks.
So you get, and I think that this is one of the reasons I wanted to do the show, not only to share your journey and the way that you do live, which inspires me and inspires so many other people, but also to shed light on what stage 4 metastatic breast cancer is,
Right.
because it is so hidden and not given the attention that it deserves. So it's 2014.
Right.
You go and get the pain checked out.
Right. So it gets biopsied.
Did you even think a biopsy was going to happen?
No.
Or yeah.
Nope.
So it gets biopsied.
It gets biopsied, and I get the news from my doctor that I remember him leaving a message for me, and all previously, and I had had some other little biopsies or checks or whatever, and always he would leave me a message and say, no, we're good. It was nothing. It was just a blah, 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 blah. And this time there was a message for me to call him back. So I knew immediately that that was not good. What I thought was that he was going to say, yeah, it's come back. You have a recurrence. And I said, okay, it'll suck for another year.
Right. Same thing.
And I'll be a
10 months.
2-time survivor. And isn't that cool? And I'm going to go out there and just
Yep.
beat it twice.
Yep.
What I was not prepared for was for him to say, literally, are you sitting down? And he said, it is a stage 4. It is metastatic. And I actually said to him, what are you saying to me? You know, I understand what you're saying, but why are you having that conversation and using that word with me?
So it was literally like an out-of-body experience.
Out-of-body experience and came out of nowhere.
What did you think when he said metastatic?
I thought my life was over because I didn't understand metastatic. I just knew that people died from it.
Because and let's get this terminology right for everyone too, because I said it, but I don't think you clarified. Treatable, but not curable.
Right. And
what does that mean? Because I
Sure.
think people think that it means you can
Right.
live forever with it.
Right.
Yeah.
And you cannot. It is not a chronic disease. That is the goal. I mean, if science and medicine can get it to be a chronic disease, and even better yet, get it identified prior to getting to be stage 4 and metastasized. But what that means is when you are diagnosed at an early stage, 0, 1, 2, 3, it is treatable and it is eradicated. You know, every tumor is burned away, gone, removed, whatever. And you can live a long, healthy, normal lifespan. When it has metastasized, and again, the doctors didn't make a mistake. Man, I was ready to have a lawsuit. Like, okay, they messed up somewhere.
So that's what went through your mind. This
Sure.
is a complete mess up.
They messed up.
Yeah.
Somehow they missed it. How could they possibly miss it? But no, cancer is cunning in that way. And there was probably a little piece that just stayed away, was hidden and was undetectable, and then surfaced 5 years later. It is not curable because once it reaches those vital organs, it is throughout your body. And it can sometimes not be detected and be stable, or I don't use the term remission, but it's never gone. It's never gone, and it will pop back up somewhere.
So once they diagnosed you, what was that like mentally for you? And what did I know that you're part of a clinical trial that
Sure.
I'd love to hear about, but what was it like mentally for you to take that diagnosis and then say, okay, now what are my options?
Right.
Was it an immediate process for you? Were you in bed for a week? I would have been the latter. I feel like it would take some time to process.
I'm still processing it to this day at different levels and different depths and meaning. But in that moment, it was an out-of-body experience. I remember just going through the motions of life and thinking, what? Incomprehensible. However, what did register for me was that I'm on the clock is ticking. So I didn't know enough, and I just thought, well, I got to get it out. And I've got to get going on this because I don't want to, like, what, am I going to die in a month, in 2 months, a year? Like, I had no idea in those early days. I did not sleep. I got up and went to work the next day and left half day. I was like, I need a little break.
I haven't even done the half day.
I didn't know that was normal. Yep. I just tried to, I did not sleep. And when I woke up with the knowledge that I was being told I had metastatic breast cancer, I felt physically ill and was just confused.
It's almost like any trauma.
It was definitely traumatic.
Yeah. So you get introduced to a trial.
So I didn't immediately.
Okay.
I went back to my original team.
At Dana-Farber.
Right. No, I was treated locally in Hartford the first time around. I went back to that team and they gave me their plan of attack, and it didn't sit right with me. Honestly, it was vanity that probably propelled me to get a second and a third and final opinions, because after my first bout, I had developed lymphedema of the breast. And if I followed the plan that my surgeon and doctor were planning to do, it was another surgery, it was a removal, and it was 100% that I would develop lymphedema in my arm.
Which is a swelling.
Okay. Yep. An unmanageable, again, a not curable, lifelong condition that can sometimes be minimized and maintained, but it never goes away. And it is a often, very extreme, often grotesque swelling of the limbs.
Yeah.
I didn't want that. I thought, okay, quality of life. Like, I understood metastatic.
Yeah.
So metastatic is balancing your quality of life with longevity. And so decisions are made every day on balancing those two concepts.
What you just described to me is what we all should be doing.
Absolutely.
Do you feel that way? Or do I feel like if someone told me that, if I had metastatic cancer, I would want to punch them in the face.
Sure.
But do you think that that is the philosophy that we all should be living by, even without that diagnosis?
Wouldn't that be great? If we could?
That's my goal.
Because here's the deal. We all do die. To have life is then to die and have that life be extinguished at some point. We mostly, and I did even as a first-time survivor, I did not, maybe very briefly, appreciate the rainbows and the music and what a gorgeous day. But I went right back to my life and thought, I got another 50 years.
And what did that entail? Was it the planning? Was it the not appreciating? And how has that changed now?
Yeah.
How has that balance been created? And what does that look like?
It's completely changed now. I mean, I went on living like I was told I could.
Yeah.
Like anybody else. And barring any act of nature or freak accident, I would live a long, healthy life. That is not my reality now. So I do face my mortality every day. When people say, well, we're all going to die. Well, I could step off a curb and get hit by a bus.
A bus. Oh my gosh. Okay. I would want to push them off the curb.
Often what I say is, that is true, but you don't have a bus chasing you down the street relentlessly. It's not stopping at all.
It just actually sounds like being told you are going to get hit by a bus. I'm not going to tell you when. It's going to be somewhere between like 3 to 5 years, maybe more, maybe less, but you're going to get hit by a bus.
Absolutely.
Have a good life.
Have a good life.
It's not like
one of these days when you step off the curb, you're going to get hit by a bus.
So every day you would step off the curb.
Metastatic breast cancer is not a curable disease.
Yeah.
It is why you don't hear about it, because nobody wants to be that person that gets metastatic breast cancer. Because it is unknowable, They cannot. A very small percentage of all of that fundraising that happens actually is funneled into research for the only stage of cancer that is still the only kind that kills us.
This is the only cancer that still kills.
This stage 4 metastatic is the only type of breast cancer that
does not have a cure.
That does not have a cure, that you will die from. The problem with that is you do not know when, and your doctors do not know when, and you do not know the path that your particular cancer tumors are going to take.
Because people would say, and I've heard people say to you, you look amazing.
Absolutely.
Like there's no way you have metastatic stage 4. Well,
Right.
they don't know that
Right.
word generally if they're saying that to you, but stage 4 cancer.
Right.
So it is a journey where you're not quite sure where it's going to take you.
No.
So how do you do that? How do you balance planning, but living?
Right. So you do it. I have found, and again, that's where I say I accept it differently, ongoing at different stages, different levels, different days. In the beginning, I thought, okay, either I'm doing really well and have fully gone into acceptance mode, or I'm in complete denial and I don't even realize it. It is kind of going back and forth and finding that happy medium of, I do not know when my cancer is going to explode and progress even more. The goal is you keep taking different treatments as available until you run out of options or they stop working or the side effects are intolerable. I don't know when that will be for me. I've already surpassed the average 3 years. It's now recently been extended to 5, which is awesome news. It is a constant lesson in what I value, what my priorities are, how actually living in the moment. It's not easy at all. Do I take that promotion? Do I quit my job and travel through the world? Do I save all my money? Do I spend all my money? Do I start gathering, little boxes of baby clothes for my grandchildren, my children's children that I may not ever see? Yes, no, yes, no. And
so have you decided there is no answer?
There
it's
is
a
no
day-to-day.
answer. It is unknowable. It is uncontrollable. And there are days when I am filled with fear. As I said, I decided not to go with my original team for treatment after a few visits and a couple other opinions. I ended up at Dana-Farber. I ended up in a clinical trial. As part of that clinical trial, I am in a support group for stage 4 metastatic women. And I gained entry into that club, the infamous club that nobody wants to be a member of, because one of their members had died. And so a spot opened up. And so that was where I became one of them and have gotten to know a group of amazing women who are living exactly the same way I am.
Which also breeds probably some loss as well as people pass away. And how do you stay resilient through that?
I did have a friend and member who just passed away a week ago. And I allowed myself to get full of fear. It is always a gut punch of reality of what metastatic breast cancer is, which is incurable and something that will take my life, that I will die from. So I get filled with fear, but then I am able to say, that is not my journey, not today. And what do I want to do with that? Do I want to stay in fear? Do I want to stay in self-pity? Do I want to get depressed and ruin, there's the quality of life. I don't fight metastatic breast cancer. I can't change that diagnosis. I live with it. I accept it. I do everything possible to make the best life possible. However that is defined on a day-to-day basis. I make little tiny goals. I have said that the moments are my milestones. The day is my goal. And sometimes I make far-reaching plans with the absolute knowledge. And here's where my tremendous group of friends come in, knowing that I may have to cancel. but if I feel good, if things go the way they're going, then I'm going to do something awesome and go on a great trip or have a great, whatever. And if I'm not feeling so great or things change, then I go with that.
It's so beautiful. Do you feel like you have found the secret to life? Because I feel like facing your own mortality is something that everyone has to eventually deal with. And they say in that you look at things like, what do you want your legacy to be and what life is all about? Do you feel like you have those answers, or is it still a work in progress for you too?
It continues to be a work in progress, and I think it always will be. I have a great deal of peace and serenity that I wouldn't otherwise have had. Sometimes you may hear people say, well, cancer is a gift. Cancer is not a gift. It is not.
Yeah.
However, the byproduct, the way I have learned to live as a result of this death sentence, this disease, is an absolutely amazing gift. I am living a life differently, very differently than I expected. And that continues to change. Do I want to go back to school? Do I want to do this? I had to stop working because of my condition, because of the fatigue and the stress. Now I just accept that at an early age, I am in my retirement stage of life.
Early retirement. That's what I called it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's taken a tremendous amount getting used to. Starting to get the hang of it.
Yeah.
And it's pretty good, actually.
Krista, I just have two more questions for you. The first is, if someone is listening, are there any signs or symptoms, if you have something that you would want to get tested for that's different from breast cancer, or is it the same signs and symptoms of breast cancer?
It is the same signs and symptoms. The only thing I would say is, just like they say with early detection absolutely saves lives. So you get your mammograms. Most importantly, I say, is do your self-exams. That is how I detected my lumps both times. They were not detected on a mammogram.
We're going to post a video about that because I don't do that. And I feel like that is...
it saved my life.
Yeah.
Both times. It did, because both times, especially with the metastatic, if I didn't do that, it's an aggressive form of my tumors. And I wouldn't be sitting here today, for sure. So, but as far as anything different, no. I had some pain. I felt a lump. I had some fatigue.
So not pretty normal symptoms.
Pretty normal stuff.
Okay.
Yep.
So get checked and do your self-exams.
Absolutely.
Last question for you, Krista. Do you feel like if someone's listening and they're struggling with a sense of purpose or a sense of their own wellness and questioning their journey, any advice for them from everything you've learned on your journey to help get them through?
Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And again, it's accepting the fact that we all die. And I have the knowledge. For sure. No doubts about it, that I am going to die sooner rather than later. So every day is a precious time. And so how do I want to make use of that? What do I want to do with this time? And really, I have gotten just laser sharp focused on what's important, and reach out, because it's not about all the other stuff for me. What is important is my fantastic friendship with you, Lucia.
Sweet Frog.
Absolutely.
Which is an ice cream store.
Frozen yogurt.
Way too much.
And so I cherish those relationships with my children, with my friends. That is what's important. And I have the blessing now of being able to spend time with and be available for those friendships and those relationships in a way that I never would have considered or been able to fulfill. And I am able to do that today. You asked if I have the secret of life, if I know the secret of life. And I will say, just because we did just go see James Taylor up at Tanglewood, and honestly, that reminds me of his song, The Secret of Life is Enjoying the Passage of Time. And that's about it. It is enjoying the passage of time.
I feel like we should leave it there because that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Krista.
Today's lifestyle demands the best in wireless, and with Pulse Cellular, you have the best options available. Switch to Pulse Cellular for unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data, coast to coast with no contracts, no credit checks, and no overage fees. One line for $65 or 4 lines for just $45 each, including hotspot, Wi-Fi calling, and 50 gigs per line. And for all you travelers, we got you covered in Canada and Mexico. Plus, text and data in over 210 countries worldwide, all with the best phones or bring your own. That's pretty awesome. Get the best user experience on mobile at pulsecellular.com.
Thanks for being part of the Seekerhood. We couldn't do this without you. Now, back to the show.
Thank you so much again to my dear one and my dear friend, Krista Lawrence, for being with us and sharing her story and experience. For everyone out there that has cancer, knows someone who has cancer, I hope that story helped you feel a little less isolated and helped you know that there's hope. There is hope for everyone in this journey. Loved ones, people who are facing these diagnoses, and the people that are providing for them, the caregivers, either family or professional. If you want to subscribe to the show, make sure you hit the button. You can also just follow us on social and you'll know when new shows come out. We're all at WellSeekers on every platform, so you can find us there. From all of us here at the show, I just want to say as we wrap up this series with this last guest, it's such an honor to be on this journey with you. And I know I say that, but I don't say it lightly. There are so many vies for your attention throughout each day. And we're so honored that you spend 30 minutes every other week or however long you spend with us. We're so honored that you do. And we hope that we give you something that nourishes you and fuels you and helps you rise, come back, thrive in the face of all that is coming at us in this current world. So thank you for being a part of my family. I consider each of you a part of my family, and thank you for letting me be a part of yours. It means the world to me. So we are going to take a break. We will be back with our next series. We usually take a couple months off in the summer. So we will be back in September. So just in a few short months, ready to go with a brand new series. In the meantime, email us. We'll be on social active the whole time. So email us, reach out. We're here for you. And we are still here on this journey, even if we don't have a podcast for you every week or every other week. So from all of us here at WellSeekers, we hope you soak in this summer. And again, stay in touch because we'll be back soon. And we can't wait to be on this journey with you. From all of us here at WellSeekers, thanks so much for your time, your love, and for being a part of our family. We'll see you real soon.
How would you like to join the conversation? Email us anytime at hello@wellseekers.com.